Audiofan Reels presents the unconquerable power of silence. Welcome to Audiofan Reels. Some battles don't begin on a battlefield. They begin inside you, in the quiet space between a wound and your response to it. The greatest wars in life are not won with a raised voice or a clenched fist. They are won with something far rarer and far more difficult: a steady heart and the courage to go still. Tonight, I want to take you somewhere real, to a Saturday night in Nashville, the kind of night you don't forget, a room full of people, music, laughter, and beneath it all, a storm that was about to break. One man walked into that room carrying his best self, and someone else in that room had decided it was time to take it apart. What happened next, what he chose to do, or rather what he chose not to do, changed the entire course of his life. When someone insults you, they are handing you a lit match. The question is, will you burn down the room or simply set it down? Today, we explore together the unconquerable power of silence. Chapter 1: Shadows of Envy. Our story begins the way most important stories do, quietly, in the middle of ordinary life. Marcus was 24 years old and had just earned a promotion that most people his age only dream about: senior logistics coordinator at one of the fastest-growing firms in the Southeast. He hadn't been handed anything. He had outworked the room week after week, month after month, until the numbers spoke for themselves. And right beside him the whole time, at least so he believed, was his friend, Derek. They had shared bad coffee from the break room and late-night deadlines that stretched into the small hours. They had laughed about the same things and complained about the same boss and talked about where they were both headed. Real friendship. Or so he thought, because the moment that promotion was announced, something in Derek's eyes went flat. Here's the thing about envy: it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't knock on the door and say, "Hello, I'm the ugliest thing in the room." It moves quietly. It disguises itself as a joke, a backhanded compliment, a moment of strange distance. It finds the hairline cracks in your confidence, and it works at them, patient as water against stone. Derek had become what psychologists call an emotional vampire, someone who cannot stand to witness your joy because it illuminates everything missing in his own life. He wasn't your enemy. He was something harder to navigate than an enemy. He was a friend who had quietly decided to become one. We all have a Derek in our lives. The test of your character isn't how you handle your success, it's how you handle their jealousy. Chapter 2: The Eruption and the 10-second Rule. Saturday night, a mutual friend's birthday. 30 people, good lights, warm drinks, the kind of room where everyone is relaxed and guards are down. Marcus was in the middle of a conversation when Derek stood up. He didn't say, "Excuse me." He didn't wait for a lull. He just stood up. And then he started talking. Loud. The kind of loud that isn't about being heard, it's about being watched. Derek began pulling things out of the dark, the private things Marcus had shared with him in confidence, old mistakes, fears he had voiced late at night when the walls felt safe. He said them all in that room with that audience, with a smile on his face that looked almost like relief. He wanted a reaction. That was the whole architecture of it. He wanted Marcus to raise his voice, to swing back, to look just as unhinged as the accusations being thrown at him, so that Derek could step back, shrug, and say, "See, that's who he really is." And in that moment, Marcus felt every molecule of heat rise into his chest. His jaw tightened, his hands, he noticed his hands. And then he remembered something, the 10-second rule. Not 10 seconds to think of a comeback, 10 seconds to recognize the bait and consciously refuse to bite. 1, 2, 3. He breathed. He let the wave hit him without letting it take him under. 4, 5, 6. He looked at Derek, not with fury, not with contempt, with something quieter and far more unsettling: pity. The pure, uncomplicated pity you feel for someone who has just shown you the most desperate version of themselves. 7, 8, 9, 10. He said nothing. He chose peace, not because he was afraid, but because he was finished being manipulated. Silence in that moment was not surrender. It was the most powerful sentence he had ever spoken. Chapter 3. Why Silence Wins: The Psychology. Let's talk about what was actually happening inside that room, because science has something remarkable to say about it. When we are insulted, our brain does something very specific and very ancient. It sends up a flare: danger, threat, fight back. This is the amygdala, the alarm system that kept our ancestors alive on the savannah, responding to a social wound the same way it would respond to a physical one. The body can't always tell the difference. Most people obey that alarm without question. They fire back, and in doing so, they hand the other person exactly what they came for. But here is what the most emotionally intelligent people understand. Discomfort is not an emergency. The urge to react is not a command. You can feel the fire and still choose not to pour gasoline on it. By staying silent, Marcus did something that Derek could not have planned for. He turned the mirror around. Without a reaction to feed on, Derek's words didn't land. They bounced back. They echoed in that quiet room and found their way home to the man who had thrown them. Derek had aimed for impact and found only empty air. The people watching, they saw everything. They didn't see a man being humiliated. They saw a man being tested and passing. They saw someone in complete, unshakable possession of himself. This is the paradox of silence. It looks like nothing, and it does everything. Your calm is not a weakness. It is a fortress. When you refuse to be triggered, you take back the keys to your own house. Chapter 4. Internal Affirmation and the Art of Boundaries. In the weeks that followed that Saturday night, something shifted in the office. Not loudly. These things never happen loudly. But Marcus noticed it. The way colleagues carried themselves around him. The respect that showed up in small moments. A nod across the conference room. An extra word of consideration in a meeting. Nobody had to announce what they had witnessed. They had simply seen the measure of a man, and they remembered it. Derek, for his part, grew quieter, not because he was forced to, because in the absence of a reaction to justify his behavior, there was nothing left to hide behind. His own actions had spoken for him, and he did not like what they said. Marcus had established something no written policy ever could. An unspoken boundary, a line that communicated without a single argument, "This is where my dignity lives, and you will not cross it." This is what internal affirmation means. Not the kind of self-help mantra you tape to your bathroom mirror, though there is nothing wrong with that. I'm talking about something deeper, a knowing, a settled, quiet certainty about your own worth that does not require external witnesses.
It means that when someone tries to define you by your worst moments, you are already so clear about who you are that their words simply have no surface to grip. There is an old image, you have probably heard some version of it, of a lion standing still while a small dog barks furiously at its heels. The lion does not turn around, not because the lion is deaf, not because the lion is afraid, but because the lion already knows what it is. It has nothing to prove and nowhere better to be than exactly where it stands. That is the posture Marcus chose, and in choosing it, he won something no argument could have secured for him, his own peace intact. Your silence tells the world, I know exactly who I am, and your chaos has no address here. Conclusion: the journey to peace. Here is what I want you to take home from Nashville tonight. Silence is not the absence of strength, it is the fullest expression of it. Every time you choose your peace over someone else's performance, every time you breathe through the fire instead of throwing yourself in, you are making a decision about the kind of life you want to live. Not a life controlled by everyone who decides to test you, a life directed by you from the inside out. That is not a passive choice. It is the most active, intentional, muscular thing a human being can do in the face of provocation. Marcus didn't walk out of that room the loser. He walked out the architect. He had built something in that 10-second silence, a version of himself that no one could take apart because no one else had built it. You have that same capacity right now, today. The next time someone tries to pull you into their storm, remember, you don't have to go. You are allowed to stand on solid ground and simply watch the weather pass. Choose your peace. It is not a small thing. It is everything. If this story moved you, I want you to leave one word in the comments: pause. That pause is where your power lives. Thank you for listening. This has been a special production by Audiofan Reels. Like, share, subscribe, and protect your peace. Until next time, stay quiet, stay powerful, stay free.